All right, so over about the last day or so, we have seen just an absolutely massive amount of damage being inflicted down in Florida as this Category 4, borderline Category 5 hurricane has been slamming into the west coast of the state, as well as sort of hovering over and parking itself over central Florida as well. So I wanted to read through a little bit of this breakdown here from NBC News in terms of like what this storm is actually talking about. And then we're going to get into a couple different clips that I've lined up here showing you some of what it looks like on the ground, because the damage here has just been like catastrophic. I mean, this is potentially going to end up being one of the worst hurricanes that we have seen since Katrina. And obviously, you know, we're still dealing with the immediate aftermath of this, so we don't even know the full extent of a lot of the damage that we are going to be seeing over the next couple of weeks. But here from NBC News, they say Hurricane Ian, millions without power as Ian is downgraded to a tropical storm. More than 2.5 million customers across Florida were without power Thursday morning as many grappled with flooding and damaged homes. I love how they call them customers instead of calling them just like human beings who need power to live. But anyways, they say more than 2.5 million customers across Florida were without power Thursday morning after Hurricane Ian, now a tropical storm, walloped the state as one of the most powerful storms to ever hit the United States, causing widespread devastation and flooding that trapped residents in their homes. They say Ian was downgraded to a tropical storm Thursday morning after slamming into Florida's southwest coast as a major Category 4 hurricane Wednesday afternoon, bringing winds of 150 miles per hour and life-threatening storm surge. So I'm going to show you what the winds look like as well as what this storm surge looked like. But this 150 mile per hour mark, I think is just like literally 5 or so miles per hour off of being a Category 5 hurricane, which I'm pretty sure is what Hurricane Katrina was as well. So, I mean, again, this is like a almost historic level of destruction that we are seeing here. But they say maximum sustained winds dropped to near 65 miles per hour with higher gusts early Thursday, but the storm has continued to cause destruction as it moves northeast, and its center is expected to move off the east central coast of Florida later Thursday before approaching the coast of South Carolina on Friday. And they say President Joe Biden on Thursday declared it a major disaster, and the president ordered federal aid to supplement state and local recovery efforts in the areas affected by the storm starting on September 23rd and onward, the White House said. So, I mean, this is going to cost probably like tens of billions of dollars in damages that are going to have to be repaired. I mean, some of these places, you know, are never going to be able to be rebuilt because you have all of these like like border or island border places where people have built a lot of their homes and set up a lot of their businesses. And some of those are just like straight up underwater, like completely. And especially with the storm surges, right? It's not just the winds and all of the you know, debris that flows around that causes a lot of damage. With this storm, we saw upwards of like 12-foot storm surges. So like, I mean, 12 feet, that's basically if you are at or near sea level, you know, that's an entire floor of your building or your house or whatever it may be. So, I mean, some of these places are going to be like dramatically changed for the foreseeable future. This might straight up change what the coast of Florida actually looks like on a map for the foreseeable future here. But just to start us off with some of the clips that I have lined up here, we had this absolutely batshit insane guy, this weatherman, Jim Cantor, who got hit by a flying tree branch during his reporting live on air. So let's go ahead and watch this clip. I mean, this guy has just an absolutely massive set of balls on him.
It just came flying by. All right, you know what? I think I'm just going to come in here for a second. Give me a second.
Jim, you all right?
I'm all right. I'm fine. I'm fine. You just can't stand up. All right. All right. I'm gonna let you guys look at the pictures, okay?
Yeah, I mean, dude, get the fuck out of there. I mean, why do they even have this man out here? I mean, I know he's like, apparently this guy, Jim Cantor, is like a well-respected weatherman who's been doing this for years now. And, you know, maybe he likes being out there and being in these types of conditions and stuff and like covering these types of stories. But, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, he gets absolutely like clapped by a fucking tree branch here, flying into him, takes him down to the ground. And then he's like trying to barely make his way through this wind over here to like grab onto this pole that's standing up. And clearly that's probably not even enough because there's another pole that's just laying down flat flat on the ground over here. And of course, then you have the people who are just sitting in their cozy little studio who are like, hey man, are you doing all right? Like, no, I mean, this guy's sitting in the middle of a Category 4 hurricane right here. Obviously, he's not in the best condition right now, but that's just to give you a perspective in terms of the wind damages. So now let's get into a perspective in terms of the storm surge and what this actually looks like. So this is an area where apparently this time lapse is over like 30 minutes and it's condensed down into this 20-second clip. But I guess that this is, let's see if they tell us where exactly this is, in Sanibel Island, Florida. So again, this is apparently on one of those like sort of barrier islands that probably are going to be the most significant damage as a result of this. But let's go ahead and jump into this clip. So, I mean, yeah, you see it here. I mean, it starts off just so slow, and then it just creeps up on you, and you're going to see, I mean, this entire road turns into, like, slowly a little dribble there, and then you've got, I mean, basically just an ocean forming. And, I mean, this literally is the ocean water that's coming in here, but, I mean, now you can't even see the road. And, you know, I've seen other pictures and videos of some of the destruction elsewhere around the state, and, you know, this is the type of storm that can completely destroy infrastructure, right? Not just, like, homes and, you know, power lines and shit like that, but also, like, buckling roads. I mean, I've seen pictures of like highways that have just completely collapsed in the aftermath of this storm. So, I mean, again, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars in damage here, and obviously, you know, catastrophic loss of life potentially. I've seen some estimates from within the state that maybe upwards of like in the hundreds of people could have died as a result of this storm. And, you know, there were a lot of people who were staying back in it, obviously highly non-advisable, but there's also a lot of people similar to Katrina where, you know, a lot of people just don't have the resources to, you know, go and flee their homes and to leave all their possessions behind and, you know, go find somewhere to stay and be able to afford, you know, spending money on food and housing for a couple weeks as, you know, their house is getting destroyed behind. I mean, you know, obviously there's going to be some people who are getting stuck behind and left, but still, I mean, you know, you see the damages from that type of thing, but look at this clip as well. This is another a glimpse at the storm surge and what this looks like. So here from Scott Duncan, he said, so this was a storm surge in Fort Myers, Florida, and he says it's absolutely brutal. Major Hurricane Ian is currently equaling the 4th strongest hurricane to ever hit Florida, and he says this camera, where this footage is from, is 6 feet above ground. So, I mean, look at this shit. This camera is as tall as me. It's, you know, I'm 6'2" or whatever, so this would almost be at my height here, and it's getting swallowed by the water. I mean, again, there were some places where they were reporting that there was like upwards of like 12-foot storm surges. Some places had even higher, like up to 15 feet. But I mean, you have the entire fucking ocean that is coming in. I mean, this is a huge area right here. You have giant, you know, buildings. I don't know, maybe that's like a mall or something there, but just getting swallowed by this storm. You had another one here. This one is of a house that was apparently again in Fort Myers. You have like straight up houses that are you have straight up houses that are like being carried away by this storm. I mean, look at this. These houses are almost completely underwater, gigantic, you know, buildings and shit. And, you know, let's skip ahead. Let's see if we can find where the actual house footage is. But yeah, I mean, look, you have a literal gigantic roof that is just being carried away in this storm over here. I mean, completely fucking ridiculous. I mean, these are just a couple different clips, right? This is not even close to the entirety of it. You know, I've seen clips of like other, you know, gigantic groups of boats just being carried down, you know, incredible amounts of destructive damage. And you can see what a little bit of the aftermath looks like from this. This is from, I guess this clip is from, again, Fort Myers Beach. But these are what some of the hardest hit areas are going to be looking like in the aftermath. Yeah, I mean, again, like, what are you even supposed to do about that? Where are you supposed to begin the process of trying to rebuild and repair and, like, establish some sense of normalcy here? I mean, it looks like a fucking bomb went off throughout this area. So there's just a glimpse in terms of, like, what it was looking like on the ground. Of course, because we are talking about the state of Florida, you're going to have Florida people doing Florida people things. So I thought I would show this clip as well. You had a couple of dudes that were, you know, absolutely insane and going out here and just, like, playing in the water as the hurricane was coming in and this flood water comes storming in here. But, I mean, even these guys, like, this is fucking crazy. I mean, even these guys are like almost getting carried away. You see this guy, oh my god, I mean, he literally almost just got smashed into this concrete piece here, right? And then he gets carried away and you'll see him pop back up around over here. And you know, this guy's trying to like grab onto the railing over there. I mean, what are you doing, man? What are you guys doing? Look, oh, now he's all the way over there, just all the way over there, carried by the you know, riptide in this. I mean, so listen, just to show you a little bit of the damage and what we are going to be dealing with in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, you know, Joe Biden has declared this a national emergency. Even Ron DeSantis was coming out and giving him a little bit of credit in terms of you know, how much support he's been giving to him. And so, you know, hopefully this is a situation where you know, people are going to get the relief that they need, because we've seen this play out before. I mean, we saw this in Katrina, where you had disproportionately like poor and minority areas that were significantly affected by the catastrophic effects of that hurricane as well, and they were just basically like left hanging by the Bush administration. So I mean, we'll have to see how we respond to this storm. Obviously, again, you also have the situation down in Puerto Rico where they were still recovering from that previous storm that we covered a couple weeks ago. You still have like, I think it's 1/3 of people within Puerto Rico that are without power to this day from the previous hurricane that just hit that island. So I mean, we obviously have a terrible response mechanism to dealing with these types of things, and that's not even covering into, you know, potential like future things that we need to be doing to prepare for these types of storms, because this is not going to be the last storm like this to even hit this part of Florida, right? I mean, as we talk about the ongoing effects of climate change, as it continues to worsen, as we continue to double down on fossil fuel usage, we aren't making the adequate investments in terms of like even just basic safety measures that could be taken at a more state and local level to protect a lot of these places from things like storm surges and you know, making sure all of the buildings are up to code and stuff like that. But in the broader scale, I mean, these are the types of storms that, you know, now we refer to them as like, oh, this is a 1 in 1,000 year type of storm with how powerful it is. But this is just going to become more and more frequent as climate change continues to worsen. And these are the types of things that you can continue to expect unless we start to actually take that issue seriously and address it in a meaningful capacity and move significantly away from fossil fuels and towards renewable energies and, you know, making the investments that are necessary in order to be prepared in the future for something like this.
Everyone is saying good politic guy has the best politic. Believe me, no one does it like him. Believe me, everyone is saying